can only cue you in so many times before it gets awkward.
What if I was to tell you that no matter how many times my son and I have tried to make the microphone sound just as crisp and clear as we can, how many times we took each knob and moved it slowly, carefully, going inside of the settings and trying to find just the right timbre, brightness. How many times we went on the internet and looked for tech support or called in a favor from somebody that's in the state pen because they embezzled a whole lot of money from a tech company. We happen to have their number, and for a price we call them now and again and pretend like we care about them, but really it's just to get some tech support. But no matter what or how or why, we've tried consistently to make the mic sound so good, even to the place where we have switched the entire desks around, so that I now have was Wyatt's desk with a mic that you assured us sounded wonderfully, and gave him my crappy mic, the $500 brand new Shure crappy mic. And no matter how many tests we did, and how many options we took, heck, even how many prayers we uttered, we still find ourselves struggling to get these dang mics to sound like they're not being run by a couple morons. What else can I say? I'm still here. Wyatt's doing his best. And this is, in fact, your lucky day. This is Brad Stine Has Issues. Whitey boy? Boo. Okay. Welcome for all of you who are jumping on for the first time because you've seen God's Comic Brad Stine and all of his clips and you thought, that guy's so brilliant, I gotta see what he's like when he's not on stage and he actually has to think stuff up on the fly. Well, here you have it. This is Brad Stine Has Issues, brought to you by Christian Podcast Central, the place where all of your centralized podcasts go to find Christians. So you might want to jump in, subscribe to them, and watch the other podcasts. I don't know why you would, though, because mine's the best one. Anyways, that's just me being humble, a humble brag. But I'm glad to be with you. This is God's Comic Brad Stine, and I'm with my sidekick, my son, who used to live in my loins, Wyatt. Wyatt, how are you, son?
I used to live in your loins, and now I live in perpetual confusement over this mic issue.
My son just said perpetual confusement? Are you not even going to try to use real words today?
Listen, buddy, I've spent 4 hours getting these things to try to work.
Listen, you're confused because it doesn't feel like it's working as well, but here's some good news. Number one, I haven't seen anybody yet complain, so maybe we stumbled upon
They say it sounds good, which is really surprising since I changed 0 settings since last week.
I've got some good news. Here, you're not even have to think. Look at me, son.
Okay.
Just throwing this out. So guess who was here first to say hi?
Oh, have the stars aligned? Is it finally the week where it's not Nick Chris? It's Nick Chris, isn't it?
It's Nick Chris.
Yeah, that of course.
Even though I know that you're not concerned about your mic, it does help that you put your mouth towards the microphone since I did pay for it. Try it. We do want to hear you, believe it or not. That's part of why you're a sidekick.
Yeah, I know. I'm the sidekick. I get second billing. Why would anyone want to hear my voice in full?
I didn't say they wanted to. I'm just saying I'm paying you big money. I want to make sure
pulling
your weight.
Oh, yes, big money.
Nick Press is here, and he's number one. I don't know how he does it. Good evening, Brad and White. Josh Sipes is here. Dwayne Bratfold, he showed up. Sean Siriak is here. Chris Feltenhouse, hello from Washington State. Hey, Brad and Wyatt from Paula Faye, Marie Rauchi. Wyatt, what is she still not purchased?
I don't know.
A fifth name.
Oh
she
my!
Goes by Paula Faye, Marie
I thought she had rent to buy.
No,
Did that thing, yeah.
Or a vowel. Janet Bryan's here. Hi, Brad. James Lyons is here. Cody Craig, I hear you. Daryl Fisher, hi, everyone. Hi from Delight, Arkansas. Rhonda Stone Baxter. I'd love to have you on my podcast, says Mike Smith. Well, who wouldn't, Mike? Who wouldn't want to have me on their podcast?
People.
I barely can get on mine. Do you know that I have to call myself and book myself onto my own podcast as the host, and then I have to decide if I'm going to let myself on? That's how popular I've become. Hey, Brad from Witt and Wayne from Michigan. Clovis Jones, hey, buddy. Jim Brunel here, looking forward to your words tonight. You're not only going to work forward to my words, but what about my interpretive dance? Should I have even broken the silence and let them know we're going to do that, White? Should I have kept that as the special closing piece, my interpretive dance, and don't think it won't include ribbons?
I don't know, but what I do know is that people really need to stop talking to me about how my mic is louder than yours, because once again, I have tried. This microphone should be the quiet one. And yet, despite my greatest attempts, I have been foiled by this $500 piece of good quality trash.
Clovis Jones said it sounds good okay today.
Stop saying that, because it makes me more confused why it broke last week.
You know what Dwayne Brockfield said?
Is it that that the stream sounds good?
No, he said you guys are too funny. Now, Wyatt, I told you before this podcast started, you be funny, you stay focused. I warned you, if you get too funny, things are going to be held to accountability.
Look, just be glad that I toned it down from my early work and stopped being 3 funny.
Yes. Oh, 3 funny. Okay. A numeral joke.
Yeah, I'm surprised it took you more than half a second it took me to come up with that joke to get it.
Hey, look. Scott McCown said that's why Epstein and his friends were hung. It was to keep you from having a good voice. Okay. That's dark comedy, but I'll take it. Hello from New York, or North Carolina, Dwana Wittenhouse Moose. Definitely not coming through the shore. I don't know. Had to tune in to see if Wyatt fixed the mics, of course. We got Cliff Stocking praying for keep up the plane, Cliff.
No. I like this one comment by Josh Sipes. Yeah. Have you tried to swap the mics?
Oh my gosh.
Yes, Josh. As a matter of fact, we did.
You're not going to believe this. We actually swapped larynxes today, and it still doesn't seem to be doing any good. Hey, Greg Kuntz said hi from Scottsdale. You know who Greg Kuntz is, Wyatt?
What now?
Greg Kuntz, he said hi from Scottsfield. Do you know who he is?
Oh, he's the great Scottsfield man who joins our streams regularly in Scottsville.
You know what else? He's your cousin. Just thought I'd let you know.
Oh, okay.
Are you using a cloud filter? That's what A.G. Raymond asked. Let's see, who else is here? Sorry, sounds the same as last week to me, Deanna Miller. Oh, well. Can't, but look what somebody else said. Can hear Brad better tonight, loud and clear. I will tell you guys this. Turn up your phones or your computers as loud as you can, because that can help. And I promise you, I called Larry Gilbert, who was one of the first guys that helped me get this whole thing started. And I said, Larry, you're going to have to come down here. You're going to have to set up the studio, and we're going to make this work once and for all. And so hopefully he will be coming here in a couple weeks, and we're going to try to once and for all get this thing squared away and set up so I can have my guests. We're going to do that. I was going to have a guest today. We couldn't figure out how to get it to work. It started glitching. So there's one of two things. Either Wyatt is an absolute incompetent, or demons.
Oh, please. You say that like they're somehow mutually exclusive.
Well, that's true. That's true. Now listen. Hey, San Diego's here. Joe Fleury. By the way, I'm going to be in San Diego this Saturday performing, so go to my website to see where and how to get tickets. Why is your son's milk louder and clearer than yours? Who cares?
Who knows?
Whatever. Good night. God bless. Hey, how are you? I don't think his microphone is on. You are louder than your dad. Oh, well. I don't know what else to say, guys. There's nothing more I can do. So here's what we're going to say this week, because I will not spend the entire show worried about the mic. I promise you, we've tried everything. We don't know what we're doing. We're not professionals. I'm going to bring somebody in to work this out. But tonight, I would say whatever device you're on, jack it up to high volume and hang on for the ride because we're going to have some fun. And what we're going to talk about tonight is me. Wyatt?
So, quick question. Before we get into the you, if we had to come up with a name for the ghost that's been haunting this stream the past few weeks, what do you think would be a good name for it?
I don't know.
Well, I mean, you're the creative type here.
The ghost that's been haunting us?
Well, of course. Are the mics not working? The lighting's off?
Do me a favor. Hand me your mic.
Okay, so yeah. I shall gift you the microphone, good sir.
This is the one that Wyatt uses. Just throwing this out there for those of you who are there right now in real time. Does this sound different? Does this sound louder? Because this is the mic that Wyatt was using just a second ago that you all said was so dang loud. So I'm just showing you, this is this mic over here, and it sounds good, I can hear myself. This is this mic over here. I can't hear Wyatt, he's not in my headphones. But anyways, now you can see, we really do have 2 mics, and we really did try. Here, Mike. Here, Mike. Take it, Mike.
Okay,
all right, here we
so
go.
If you're not going to answer, chat, everybody in chat, I want you to come up with the name for the ghost that has been haunting our stream for the past few weeks.
Yes, we think it's a ghost or a demon. What should we call it?
I don't know. Damien?
Okay.
Would be a good name, because, sort of demon.
Damien.
But honestly, I'd say name him Bubba.
Oh, yeah, well.
Muffle,
The ghost of podcast past.
That's a good one.
It is. Well, listen, we're hoping that ghost stays away for today because we are going to talk about, as I said, me.
Okay.
God's comic, Brad Stine, and my little career that has brought some of you to actually pay attention. Wyatt, it sounds like you want to say something.
I'm sorry, real quick, one more name that I just love. Okay. The Ghost of Lowe's Past.
Aww. The Ghost of Lowe's Past.
Still haven't found the wrenches, by the way.
Huh?
Still looking for those wrenches.
Listen, if you have never been on the podcast until today, my son Wyatt works at Lowe's, and he is so proud of that. As a matter of fact, when he comes home, he's still wearing his vest. Sometimes he'll get out and help people jack up their tires if they're on the side of the road. I've seen him bring hobos and bums home and feed them stew that he created himself. But he's always wearing his vest. He's so proud of his vest, and he's hoping one day to get his own name tag. What do you think? Why does that moving in forward at all?
I think you have a gross overestimation of my soup making skills.
Well, you know what? Clovis Jones said it sounds the same when I used either mic, so it must be the location. Could be. Could be.
Yeah.
We were wondering if it's this weird setting on the.
I actually did receive a comment that we should switch seats and then turn the camera to face this part.
Well, we might have to.
We can do that next week. Yeah, see, that makes a difference. Yeah, totally.
Next week we will move the camera that way. I'll sit over there and we'll see if it makes.
Now, but chat. Before we commit to that, I do want to ask you one important question.
Please.
If that's the problem that we're having, why hasn't it come up any of the other times we've streamed the exact layout?
Who knows? Who knows?
Darn it, Ghost of Lowe's Past! Stop messing with our stream.
Going crazy when we used that board, when we added that board to the whole thing. Just letting you know. So anyways, here's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about why we're here today, which is about the idea of the very concept that I've been known for, the very thing that my clips normally are addressing, the very thing that many people became fans of mine because of, and that is my battle, my angst, my fight, my absolute commitment to the destruction and ending of the single most evil, cancerous, tumorous construct that has infiltrated this nation since the 60s and has begun to destroy it until it's reaching a head where something's going to give. And of course I'm speaking about cultural Marxism, or as you know it, political correctness. That despicable word that I don't even want coming out of my mouth. But it does, because I have to fight it, and I have to fight it by using words, because that's what it hates. Words that it doesn't control and it doesn't redefine into what makes it make sense. So, I wanted to do this little journey of political correctness because people have asked me, what got you into this? What made you think that this was something that was important? Especially because, for those of you who maybe have just become friends and fans of mine through these clips, You're looking at clips, folks, that are 20 years old, some of them, and older. You're looking at a back catalog of 6 albums that I have, but the first one that I was most famous for, put a helmet on, was from 2003. So we're talking about 20 years ago. So these are old clips that show that, but are very valid today, very new today, because what I was talking about 20 years ago, I told you was going to happen, and now we're here, and you're acting like I haven't just thought of this stuff. Nope, been talking about it, been prophetically saying we better be very careful about what's going to happen to this if you want to continue to be free. And so I'm going to show you the evolution of my show as a comic in my fight against political correctness and why it's been so important to me. But in order to start that, I thought I'd give you a little background about one of the first recordings that I have of me performing. Now, I sent you guys this as a laugh a month ago as the conclusion of the podcast. I showed a clip of this show, and I'm going to show you another clip of it today that was in front of the clip I showed you before. This is a clip from probably 1992 is what I'm going to guess, and it is in England, London, England. Now, quick aside, many years ago when I first started getting into comedy, I was working for what is known as the Coconuts. Now the Coconuts chain, the Coconuts Comedy Club, chain was in Florida. And it was one of the first clubs that I began to work for back in 89, 90, and started my career up until the comedy that I've been doing this long. Now, they had a room for a while in England, and they were going to book me into this club. So I was excited. I had my passport all good to go. I went and got that. I did an over-rush one-day thing in downtown Los Angeles to get it rushed so I could go, and we were ready to move me out, and off I go, and I fly, and it's a long flight to England. But I got there, walked over there, and they said, okay, what are you here for? And I said, well, I'm here to work, because I was working at a comedy club. And they said, do you have your papers? I said, what do you need, your work permit? And I said, I don't know about anything like that. I said, well, let me make a phone call. They eventually put me into the side prison where they put people that are there, and they're not just letting them in. Something's wrong. I don't know. Well, anyways, over a period of hours, and they talked to me. I said, I'm working at a comedy club. They brought me in. They said, they didn't tell me anything about paperwork or whatever. Apparently, somehow, I never got the full story on this, they told you were just here to visit and that you weren't actually here to work. Apparently, they never took the time and the money to get a work permit for the comics. They would come in, go work, and leave. Jeff Wayne was actually working there the week I got there, and he was ready to leave. And they come back in finally and say, so we're turning you around. I had just got this brand new passport, by the way. Couldn't wait to get it. My first stamp, I'm going into London. And instead they put the big cross, boom, rejected. My first stamp is me being kicked out of a country, stuck me right back on a plane and sent me right back home. That was my first experience of flying hours and hours and hours to London, staying in Heathrow, just long enough to be pushed back out and sent back home. And I never got to even enter anywhere within it, and I never got to do it. And Jeff stayed another week and performed. Well, fast forward a few years, and my manager at the time did a lot of crazy acts that he represented, and he'd get them into these shows in England. And this particular show was called, Viva Cafe, if I remember. Viva Cabaret or Viva Cafe, one of those two. But it was hosted by a guy by the name of Jules Holland. Now, I'd never heard of the guy, but apparently to musicians, he was a very well-respected guy. And if you go look him up on the internet, he's a pianist, and I guess, I don't know if he was a session guy or if he played his own stuff or jazz, I don't know. But he would host these shows, and he was a big deal. And if you were a musician and you got with Jules Holland, you had, it's like being on the Tonight Show back when that used to be popular. I was on it, didn't know any different. They get me to the place, they tell me that I'm going to get on here, and you're going to be walking on stage here. And I was kind of by myself. Nobody was with me. I didn't have a handler. I didn't have anybody to tell me what to do. I was very nervous. I'm in London. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm walking backstage. I hear them setting it up. I hear them introduce me. Hey, Brian Stine. So I can, what? Nobody told me. I can run out. Hey. And they go, no. They were just setting up the voiceover to prepare, and then they're going to bring me out, but they were getting that done. So nobody told me that. It was just a crap show, if you want to know. Well-produced thing. But nobody was with me to help walk me through it. And so I came out on stage, had to leave, looked like an idiot. But eventually, they called me out. I went up, did my show. I wasn't crazy about the show. I remember doing it feeling this wasn't a strong show. I felt like it didn't do well. And I never saw it. They sent me a clip of it. I never watched it. I just felt like I sucked. I bombed. I ate it. And then, over time, I found this clip showed up on YouTube. I had never seen it. I couldn't believe it when I saw it because, as you can see, I was much younger. I had super long blonde hair. That was my look. I was wearing a Fu Manchu mustache that I was just experimenting with. And that's really the key. I wanted to let you guys know this just from the back, behind the scenes of comedy. I was trying to figure out who I was. Remember, I came out of a professional magician sleight of hand background, and then I learned comedy magic to bring up on stages, and then I started learning how to do straight stand-up, and then close with all these crazy fire reading and things along that I learned in my life as a magician. So, I wasn't sure who I was yet. I was still experimenting. I think I was much more about my persona and trying to be an actor and big and vibey and sort of playing this dramatic, crazy thing. 'Cause I didn't know what I was doing. I really didn't. And so you're going to see the evolution of the beginning of what I was trying to figure out when it came to being a comedian. And clearly, now, just to let you know, I'm a Christian. I wasn't doing curse words or whatever, but I was doing, silly things and, oh yes, you women find me so attractive, and I was just doing this weird stuff because I wasn't ready yet. I wasn't there yet. I was learning the craft of stand-up comedy, and as I've told you before, it's the only performance art I know where you have to rehearse in front of the audience. So it is the tightrope of tightropes. The only difference with this one is if you fall down, you don't die. But it's still a lot of risk. So I'm going to show you this clip from probably 1991 or 92 from Jules Holland, Viva Cabaret, or Cafe, don't remember. And a little clip of me looking way different, much younger, just had screwed up coming in, come back again, and trying to figure out comedy in front of a bunch of people from England. Enjoy. It's the one with...
the one we were walking on?
No, it's the one with the gold pants and the long hair.
Oh, the French one?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Sorry, I forgot to tell my son. I've never seen his dad in long hair. And he didn't exist yet.
Yeah, I didn't know which clip to play, so... Alright, here we go. Playing it.
Thank you, everybody! Thank you! Oh, God! Woo! Beautiful people here today. Yippee! And look at the girls, just beautiful women everywhere. The kind of women that make you want to speak French. Have you ever found yourself wanting to speak French? You see some beautiful woman, your loins begin to quiver. And you want to speak French. I found out why they call it French kissing. You cannot speak this language without your tongue coming out. You're so beautiful. Why do I find you so attractive? So there you sit all by yourself, and I fly, of course, a lot. I flew all the way here, of course. Flying scares me a lot. Gets nervous flying out there. Why? Well, because they always give you that statistic. Remember the statistic they always tell you? It's safer to fly in a plane than to drive in a car. You ever hear that? Oh, yeah. Safer to fly in a plane than to drive in a car. Isn't that patronizing? Hey, safer to fly in a plane, drive in a car. Oh, safer to fly in a plane, drive in a car, safer to fly in a plane. I'm like, what about the other stat? The one that says it's safer to crash in a car than it is in a plane. Think about it. You get in a car wreck, people go, hey, was anybody hurt? Get in a plane wreck, people go, hey, was anybody recognizable? Car wreck, you're a vegetable. Plane wreck, you're a mineral. God almighty, and now an ancient Japanese comedy tradition. Let me get this straight. I fly here all the way from the U.S., about 8 trillion miles, to get, like, a clap like I was on the 18th hole. Oh, clever. Did you use a wedge? See, I give, and you just want more. You just want to suck the marrow from my bones. Fine, you will be punished for not giving me the ovation I deserve as I walked off the stage. What do you want me to do? Eat, think, and swallow a steel rod? Would that God, I mean... Oh, yeah, welcome to Britain. That'd be very funny. Hey, can stick an ice pick up your butt. That'd be... Party time!
Because you actually saw that before, and I'm not going to make you keep going through it. But, well, go ahead and keep running it then if they want to see it.
It's already over.
Oh, it's over?
Yeah, it's already over.
Closes right there? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, so as you can see, that was a comic at the beginning of his career, trying to figure out his look, what to wear, what is his hair going to look like, what's his face going to look like, should I look like this? You really don't know what you're doing when you're a professional beginning. If you're a musician, maybe it's all about the songs, but you don't necessarily know if there's going to be a look you're going to wear or whatever. I remember Steve Martin always wore the white suit, and but he didn't used to always do that. He just stumbled into that, and that became his look. It's hard. You're trying to find you, and what normally happens is you discover that finding you never works. You suddenly just start doing what makes you feel right, what becomes natural, what becomes how you want to describe yourself or what you're trying to do, and it just begins to form itself. In the beginning, you're forcing it. You're trying to find the clever gimmick instead of just trying to trust that where you are is enough. But it's hard to do when you're the guy out there trying to perform and feeling like you have to prove that you're worth being there. But the reason I wanted to show you guys that was because
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know why it did that.
okay, did Larry say the same thing?
No, but I'm listening. I'm listening to it in here, and
Let me
it's
see yours.
yeah.
Try that. All right, how about this, guys? Let me try this. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me, guys? Hey, can you hear me now?
I'm not hearing it from this end. Oh,
Can you hear me now?
It's coming back. It's coming back.
Okay, so I guess I don't need this.
Okay, Ghost. Very
Can everybody hear
funny.
me? Can everybody hear me? All right, sorry about that, everybody. As I said, I don't know why I'm having so many struggles with this. We've been doing this for so long now, and the whole thing was trying to bring the quality up so we could do it, and this is what we get. So if you pray. But all I'm going to do is I'm going to try to continue the show. As long as you can hear me, we can keep doing it. If it ends up not coming, then what I will try to do, if I maybe can, is find somebody in town that maybe can come in and try to work on it for next week so we don't have this problem. I really apologize. Feel stupid, hate it, but this is what it is. This is literally out of my house. I don't know what I'm doing, and so and my son doesn't either. So we're just doing our best. So anyways, okay. So now they're telling me they can hear me, so that's all that matters.
Like I
So
said,
now we're gonna finish. You're not gonna hear from Wyatt anymore, but. When was that ever necessary?
I mean, honestly, I'm only good for like the first 10 minutes, and after that,
yeah. All right, so here's where we're going to go. I wanted to explain to you how comedy works and evolves, and you're trying to figure out where you're going. But over time, my comedy became something where I watched all these performers always lean left. They always talked against America or against conservative values, against patriots. And I said, I'm not that. I'm just as funny as you guys. I'm just as committed to this. I don't believe that. I want to fight for the other side that remembers America, re-remembers it, and believes it's beautiful and worthy of hanging on to and fighting for. And that's where my show began to have a more thematic way of presenting itself. And that's where we've become now. So I'm going to show you a clip of I can't say it's my most famous routine, but it certainly seems to be the one that I became the most associated with, that people most think of me about for my first album, and it's the one that just kind of decided that I had an attitude, I had a point of view, I was unapologetic, I was a conservative, I was a Christian, and I was going to fight against political correctness, and if you didn't like it, put a helmet on! And that's what started this guy known as God's Comic. Wyatt, play.
Helmets are okay, they help the kids. I'm being facetious. The point I'm making is this: what do helmets represent? There's helmet laws, there's seatbelt laws, how you have to raise your children. I'm the government, and I will raise your kids better than you do. But who is the government now? Pagan government. See, we used to be a Judeo-Christian nation, and we had personal responsibility. Not now. No, not now. It's everybody that's going to go another direction. They want to go another direction and always try to fix the external because they can't change the internal. We're making everybody weak. Oh, I know. If you're fat, let's not blame you. Let's sue McDonald's. Oh, for crying out loud. Hey, if you smoke, not your fault. It's the tobacco company's fault. Hey, if you shoot somebody, not your fault. Let's blame the gun industry. This is the problem when you don't have an ethic of God to stand for. You have to fix the external because you can't change the internal. That's the problem with banning. It doesn't. First off, when did banning anything ever work? I mean, we banned liquor once in this country. Oh, that worked like a charm, didn't it, folks? You couldn't find a drink in the roaring 20s, could ya? See, that's the problem with the banning thing. It's that people think if they change the exterior, the external, suddenly everybody will be nice to each other. Is it work that well? Well, then I say, why stop there? Let's not ban guns. I know, let's ban crime. Well, I was going to shoot that guy, but apparently it's illegal now. Guess I'm going to have to turn to a life of labor. See, that's what we've become. We become a bunch of helmet-wearing people, and they don't understand it. We want to be strong again. Look around. We're the remnants of a group of people that broke away from the most powerful country of the 19th century to become the most powerful country of the 20th century. We are a group of people that have created a country so amazing that we used to be this. You came here and you could be anything you wanted if you're willing to work hard enough. And now we're people that need a sign warning us that coffee is hot. If you live in this country and need to know coffee's hot, put a helmet on. We need helmet laws for the politically correct. We need helmet laws for people that have lost common sense. That's what we need. They need to be wearing helmets every time they treat us stupid, because the kids are the ones that suffer. Because in the schools, they don't know what to do, because they can't change the kids, so they just try to change the law. Self-esteem, that's where it comes from. Self-esteem from psychiatry. Psychiatry from Freud. Freud was an atheist. Self-esteem, it sounds like a great idea. Let's all do that. I must love me. I must love only me. And it's good to care about yourself, but where does the esteem come from? You see, if you just love yourself based on yourself, it leads to tyranny, ego, pride. Where does it come from? Well, I'll tell you what Jesus said. Remember him? The guy we used to go to for absolute ethics and moral in this country? He said, you want to have esteem? You must always esteem others first. You must always esteem others first. You'll have love. Remember the 10 Commandments, the very thing we used as a fulcrum for all the laws in this country that you can't even put in front of a state building anymore? First commandment God Almighty said to humans was, you will love me first. You will put me first, because when the creator of matter tells you you matter, then you have purpose, and then you have self-esteem. But they don't get it. They don't get it.
So that is the segment, the sketch, the bit that kind of made everybody go, oh, so that's who he is. All right, this is what this guy's going to stand for. Now, the name of the album was Put a Helmet On. So I went ahead and used that as my line, I guess it's kind of like the Rodney Dangerfield, I get no respect, and I was like, put a helmet on. And it was funny, I didn't use it, I don't think, maybe once, in the second album, because I felt like, well, I had to set up the joke for Put a Helmet On, and that's why it made sense. And so I made a mistake. I didn't keep that tagline throughout my life, so I always had it, even though people still associate it with me. Maybe I'll bring it back in my next album, because I'm working on another album. And I'm very excited about that. I just did a show in Iowa, in Marshalltown, Iowa, a small little church, great people, great fun, very tight room, just like it used to be in the comedy clubs. Working out brand new stuff, some material I'd written that day, did it on stage, did great. So it makes me excited to feel like I'm moving in. I felt a little blank for a while, like, I'm having a hard time coming up with new material. So I'm getting excited about being able to maybe soon begin to really work out the perfect, find that hour so I can make my 7th album. So that's the next stage of where I'm trying to go. So that is sort of the beginning of me establishing that I was going to stand for this thing. That particular album is Put a Helmet On. It was filmed at Thomas Road Baptist Church. Jerry Falwell, the late Jerry Falwell, with his wife, were sitting basically in the front row and watched the entire program. And Jonathan Falwell, who now is the pastor, senior pastor there, actually ran the cameras of that show for me. So that's how long ago that was, and that's what that stood for. But I wanted you guys to see the difference, and that was probably 2002 or 3. So that's exactly 92, 02. 10 years from the London show, where I'm going, trying to be some kind of crazy, I didn't know what I was doing, to a guy that knew what he wanted to talk about, to a guy that had stood for something. My comedy really, really changed for me and helped me get it off the ground and helped me understand how I was going to become what I was going to become. When I knew what mattered to me, what did I want to talk about, what did I want to talk about and defend and fight and really stand for, and that's when it became Put a Helmet On, and that's really what launched me. And from then on, I continued in my conservative ideas, my Christian ideas, my patriot ideas, my liberty ideas, my First Amendment ideas, my Second Amendment ideas, But most importantly, I found myself kind of mocking political correctness, but at that time it seemed as though everybody saw it as just sort of a more of a cultural shift where we were using that as a term to say, hey, we just don't joke about this anymore, we don't joke about that, and it sounded like it was trying to be nice and teach people to be civil, but we didn't understand what it was really talking about. And I actually realized one day, you talk about political correctness, what is it? I didn't know. And I began to simply go on the internet and begin to look about it, and I came up with the first small documentary on the Frankfurt School and what became known as political correctness or cultural Marxism. Little did I know that in the 20s, this was the beginning of a group of intellectuals who decided we're going to destroy the West, and we're going to do it by making Marxism the supreme philosophy that will drive the West. We're going to get rid of capitalism, we're going to get rid of free enterprise, we're going to get rid of free markets, we're going to get rid of private property, we're going to get rid of the family as we know it, we're going to destroy everything that was, and we're going to rebuild it in Marxist, atheist, state-driven totalitarianism, and everybody's going to love it. Well, we're heading that way now for real time, and nothing proved it to me so much as the COVID and how quickly Americans quickly succumbed to whatever the state told them to do. I've said this to you before, probably the single most disheartening thing to me was the realization that most Americans are cowards and will not defend this nation if they ever have to. They'll get up and they'll salute the flag, and they might sing God Bless America, and they might recite the Pledge of Allegiance, and doing the 4th of July, listen to patriotic music. But when it comes to whether they will actually defend the nation or not, they won't. As long as you feed them and house them and leave them alone, they'll let government officials, who, as we've seen, are incompetent, who are evil, who are liars, who are completely and utterly about selling this country out as long as they put money in their pocket, including the President of the United States, has proven this over and over again. I mean, this isn't me making this up, it's not a conspiracy. It's what we've seen historically has actually been recorded as to him and his son, and especially like the Ukraine and the business they had with these people. So we're talking about a man who's in office who's completely and utterly corrupt. He just is. And this is what happens when Americans don't give a crap, when they're not willing to suffer and sacrifice whatever it takes to mobilize and say, we will not allow my country to be ripped out of my hands. And if you didn't want to do it for yourself, if you're so paranoid, so frightened, well, at least do it for your grandkids or your kids. Now we're all cowards now. We're not willing to sacrifice for our kids, let alone our grandkids, because I'm not even going to sacrifice for myself. I just want to be taken care of. Nothing has given more distress than thinking that all the people that I thought would rally around America are nowhere to be found. When pastors began to close down their churches and act like that was the loving thing to do, that's when I realized we're gone. They don't know how to discern the times. They don't know how to discern what's actually happening. They don't know how to discern the fact that our government just made a non-constitutional order. And they say, well, we want to be good citizens. Yeah, but if the government makes an unconstitutional edict, you get to ignore it because it's illegal. When did it be a good Christian loving thing to do an illegal thing? So I don't even know what to do with people like that. I'm just a comedian who loves God and loves my country and didn't realize that somebody with a theological degree and maybe a PhD in front of his name is too stupid and too ignorant of his own belief system and his own theology to realize that this is not the way to approach this as a Christian, but in fact to be a warrior for truth, to always stand for truth. That is what I said from the get-go as the foundational reason I made the decisions I made, because I was being given information about this pandemic that were lies. Over and over again. I will not succumb to lies, and I certainly won't adjust my behavior based on a lie. That's absurd. Somebody has to be the last truth teller, so somebody knows where the dimensions lie so we can find true north and get back on the map. So that's why I started doing what I was doing. I know, it's just a comedian, but it's a great way to communicate in a way that people don't expect. And next thing you know, you give them some truth. That's what my comedy's become, which now has become a ministry. Now it's me going into churches, bringing laughter, but then speaking about truth and what is Christians should be expected to do in this time and season in America and around the world, to defend freedom, to defend justice, to defend against lies and corruption, to stand strong and say we will love and we will serve God, but we will not be bowed by totalitarians. No, we're not going to do that. And so that's really where I'm at. Churches bring me in for that. Some won't. Some think I'm a little too dangerous because I expose the fact that they're just cowards. And really not a church that I would want to attend. You know, a lot of churches shut down. The one or two brave ones that stayed open, all the other church members flocked to. They stayed there because they realized this is a pastor of honor and courage. And some of those churches never recovered. They vanished. And people said, oh, wasn't that a tragedy? And my answer is, no. They were weeded out. They deserved to go. They shouldn't have shut. That's the way I see it. If you don't like that and don't believe in it, stick around. We can have differences of opinion. That's what free speech is. If it makes you upset and you want to cry and whine and complain, you can do that too. That's what free speech is. Go ahead and whine and complain and put your little snarky remarks. I don't really care because I don't do anything about how you think of me. I do how God sees me. But if you want to run off in a huff because you think that what I'm saying is not of God and makes you upset or angry or it's just wrong or right and I'm never going to watch you and I'm going to unfriend you, please do. I have no interest in having fellowship with you because you are a coward and you don't think logically and you certainly don't have a theological discernment to understand what I'm talking about. So I wanted to show you not only why I do what I do and what its meaning and why more and more churches, I never in my career had more churches contact me and want to bring me in and do this work when I was doing it 20 years ago because they're seeing the fruit of what's happened and they want somebody to come in and help them and assist them in communicating in a way that can be fun but poignant. And that's what I'm doing now. So if you're a church that wants to do that or know somebody that are courageous and want to talk about these truths, bring me in. But I wanted to move to the next idea, and that is political correctness and why it's important to be able to fight against these ideas, especially the ideas where people tell you you can't make fun of people. Now, yes, you can. Comedy is about making fun of people. Remember, making fun of somebody like Richard Pryor made fun of white people. Why can he do that? Because white people do funny things. And then this guy makes fun of fat people, and this woman makes fun of women. And why can we make fun of them? Why was comedy always allowed to do that? So we could take the haughtiness out of ourselves. If you can't laugh at yourself, you really, really have a lack of maturity. That's part of what comedy is supposed to be able to do, to poke fun at ourselves so we can all kind of just put ourselves on the same level and realize maybe, just maybe, part of the fun of life is taking one for the team. You can joke about me this time. I'm the short guy. I'm the white guy. I'm the blonde guy. I don't care. But why can't I joke about other things? Again, as I've always told you, there's a difference between malicious intent, trying to harm somebody with ill intent, and just finding the funny in the difference. And if we've lost that nuance, then comedy dies. If comedy dies, there's nobody left to speak truth in an age where truth is completely lost and freedom of speech has completely reached the brink of cracking forever. So I'm going to show you a routine that I did that got a lot of anger from witches, of all people. I made fun of witches, and basically I'm making fun of the caricature or the stereotype of the witches, and that's the joke. Me kind of like saying, they're just witches and they have warts on their nose and they fly around on broomsticks. It's me caricaturizing the very thing that the joke makes fun of, and that was that witches got upset because they didn't want kids to dress up in witch costumes because they didn't like the stereotype. That's the whole joke. That's the funny part. Witches taking themselves seriously? Come on, if I can't make fun of a witch, who's left? That's the joke. Not complicated. Done back in 2008. But it got a lot of heat by witches who were so sensitive that they just felt like this is inappropriate. So I mock that. Let's watch what it looks like when it hits the stage and becomes a joke about witches and being a little oversensitive. What? Can you hit it?
Yep. Is this the Stop Political Correctness one, or is it the other one?
It's the one that has me where I had you stop it at 12 seconds.
Got it? All right, cool. Starting it now.
Here we go.
Christian man, you're not supposed to offend people. Let me tell you and rephrase that just a bit, my brothers and sisters. I am not allowed to maliciously offend people. I'm not allowed to think of myself better or superior or be a racist or be a bigot. That's absolutely true, and it's a beautiful part of my religious belief. But if you are offended by the truth, that's your problem. I'm under no obligation not to speak the truth because it might hurt your feelings, for crying out loud. The truth is supposed to hurt. That's how it lets you know you don't got it. I always speak the truth, that's all I got, for crying out loud. But this whole idea of oppressing them and people hurting our feelings is arbitrary. People just don't even have to have an argument anymore. They just say, you've hurt my feelings. You know how you stop political correctness? You stop doing it. Somebody says you hurt my feelings, and you say, I don't care. Game over. I win. Because if they're offended by truth, that's not your obligation. Let me tell you something, how arbitrary it was. There was a school in Washington that wanted to celebrate Halloween for all their children. And so they said, come home, come back to elementary school, and wear all of your costumes. But girls, you can't wear a costume dressed like a witch. Do you know why they didn't let them do that? Because there's a woman from the local Wicca chapter that was offended by the stereotype. Excuse me, but if you're getting offended because you're a witch, who cares? You should be. I read about you people. You go around poisoning apples. You try to throw Hansel and Gretel in an oven. You got warts all over yourself. You cast spells on people. You ride around on broomsticks. If anybody should be offended in this country, it's a witch. And by the way, if I offend you and you're a witch, I don't know. Isn't there a potion for that? Maybe some rutabaga, some eye of newt, put it in a cauldron, drink it all up, because I'm thinking if you can think and control nature with incantations, you'd have bigger fish to fry than being offended by a 6-year-old in striped socks and a pointed hat trying to score a Kit Kat bar at Halloween, you dork. Put a helmet on! Oh, for crying out loud, count your blessings. At least we stopped burning you at the stake, you big babies. Of course, in this day and age, there's probably some witch in the back going, that's not funny, I'm gone.
Now, the whole thing that I was trying to show about that was exactly, you know what it is? It's the room. I can tell. It's just, I'm in the middle of this pitched room, and it's deep, and it's just bouncing around, and that's the problem. So I think I'm going to, what we're going to do, I think we figured it out, guys, for next week, is I'm going to move over to the table Wyatt's at next week. We're going to move the camera and everything. Everything's going to be, so it'll be with a little bit of a tilt, but I'm going to get a nice tight volume on my voice. So we'll do that next week, and I hope that really fixes everything. And I promise you, I'm doing everything I can to make this the best podcast we can get, the most unique, the most informative that I can make it, the most inspiring, and I hope the most life-changing for you as a human, but also as America. That's what I'm here for. That's what I'm fighting for, to actually help America fight for its life. And I know it sounds like a silly thing to say for a comic, but I'm not. A comedy is what I do. It's the delivery system. Who I am is a Christ follower and a conservative and a patriot. That's who I am. So that's what I'm fighting for. So I wanted you guys to understand, though, what's happened. That joke that you just saw was done, that particular version was shot in 2008, I think, with the Apostles of Comedy, where was Jeff Allen, Anthony Griffith, and Ron Pearson, when we toured together back in '08. So that's why that clip was that particular one. And though there is an album that we're about to show that actually has the witch's joke on it, I believe, that's done later. But I used it because it's my material. I can use it any way I want. But here's the thing. I was trying to make a joke about witches, more about making the fact that I read this article that stated we don't want kids to be able to dress like witches because the local Wicca chapter objected to the stereotype because they'd wear the pointy hats and whatever, and they just objected. And it just made me laugh. It's like witches are getting offended because they're made to look like witches. And that just was funny to me because that's what a comic does. He finds the absurd and he exposes it. Then I make a joke about, well, at least we're not burning at the stake anymore. You should be happy. Now I'm making a reference to the witch hunts in Salem, right? Burn them at the stake. And then, so I'm making fun of Christians, and then I'm making fun of the idea that, you know, they're going to fly off in a broom. I love that closing piece with the, act like, you know, that you've gone too far, I'm offended, and then they fly off in their broom. Yeah, it was a funny close. But it's mocking the fact that some things should be mocked. If you can't make fun of a witch, who's left? So that was the whole point of that. And so that's why comedy is so important. That's why it's so important. Because we have to be able to sort of bring the tenseness down, to take some of the steam out, to bring people back to a place where maybe this over-offensive thing is getting to where there's no room for error anymore. You simply have to be perfect. And if I find something that offends me from 20 years ago, I'm going to fire you today. That is absurd. That is absurd. But remember, it's Marxist-driven. Marxist foundation is atheism. Atheism gives permission to the human being to be God and make judgment. And remember, I said this before, there's no forgiveness. It's an evil, demonic belief system. Everything that has to do with Marx, critical race theory, Marxist, right? Critical law theory, Marxist. Frankfurt School, Marxist. Black Lives Matter, Marxist. It's all evil. All of it was a scam to control, to have power, and to subjugate other people in the guise of simply taking care of those who are less fortunate and have never had a voice before. It's a lie. It's an absolute lie. Because people that have never had a voice before in America, that want to have an opportunity to have equal rights as they deserve, did it through peaceful protest, through voting, through legislation, through trying to convince people and persuade people over time. And it took a long time because it was a part of the cultural milieu that people that had been slaves and suddenly set free, trying to get them uneducated, didn't know how to read everything, they weren't allowed to get them to integrate into society when they had been at one point just considered cattle, wasn't going to be easy. I mean, you still have slavery today in India, you still have slavery today in Pakistan, you still have it today in Saudi Arabia and Afghanistan and everywhere else, right? You still have it in Africa today, you still have Africa slaves today. It's not easy to let go. At least we tried to get rid of it. At least we tried to end it. But it takes time because you're changing an entire cultural system and how it sees things. It's not any help to the guy that's stuck in the slave while we're trying to learn how to get me out of there. Sucks for them. But we tried little by little, and little by little, these amazing slaves taught themselves how to think and taught themselves how to read. And suddenly they became senators and congressmen and mayors, and they showed what perseverance can be when you honor the human being spirit from the Judeo-Christian construct that we're made in the image of God and that we can become whatever we want to be if we're willing to believe in truth and justice and fight for it. And they proved it. They're an inspiration to us. So that's why what I talk about matters, because it's more than just laughs. That's just what makes me different and unique. This last clip I'm going to show you is something I may have shown you once before with a separate clip, but I just want you to know that in the last few years when Jordan Peterson took off and he talked about the idea of speaking truth and offending people, and he said, hey, you gotta be, if you want to think, you gotta be willing to risk offending people. That's the way it works. And how people and cancel culture, and how we've had Ricky Gervais's, and we've had Jerry Seinfeld's, and we've had Chris Rock's, and all these people in the last couple of years saying, you know, we've got to stop political correctness. We just can't do it. And they just jumped on board. And 15 years ago, all by myself. I battled this thing alone because I knew something was terrible and it had to be fixed. And so I said to everybody, do you want to stop political correctness? It's easy. Don't do it. Don't fall into it. Don't listen to it. Just say, I don't care. And that is what we didn't do. And everybody on day one said, we're not wearing our masks. We're not closing down our businesses. You don't have to come here. But it's open for those who want to. We would have gone on, but we didn't. We allowed people to destroy us, and they took every inch of power they could, and now some businesses will never return. Some children will never be the same psychologically, and it was all coming out as a lineup. Look how COVID just kind of vanished. Don't hear it on CNN or anywhere. It vanished away, like we're supposed to forget that that just happened. I'm telling you, all of those of you watching who fell for the nonsense, got your second, third, fourth booster and your 5 masks, you're an embarrassment. You should repent, and you should seek God and say, I hope the next time I don't become the coward. I hope I see what is really happening from those of us who kept telling you, join us, we need you in this fight, we need the warriors, we need them. So this is me 13 years ago saying, folks, don't fall for this. It's going to destroy our freedom. Okay, right?
Here's the problem, I say. This is what I'm talking about. It's about the idea of political correctness, because it's despicable. It's despicable. And yet, we can fix it, because nobody made a law that you have to be politically correct. We decided to go along with some couple little wussy whiners. You know how you stop political correctness? You don't do it. Somebody says, you've offended me, and you say, I don't care. Game over. I win. Remember, folks, if they're offended by truth, it's their issue. That's what I'm talking about. You have to be responsible for what you believe, and as an American, you have the right, the privilege, and the expectation to speak the truth at all times, and not blame others. Because you got your feelings hurt. For crying out loud, it's ridiculous. That's what we become, a bunch of wussy nations that want to blame everybody else every time something goes wrong, and it's got to stop. I mean, it's ridiculous. Somebody shoots somebody, not my fault. We got to blame the gun manufacturer. Let's sue them. They invented guns. You know, you get fat, not my fault. Sue McDonald's. Why, if there hadn't been hamburgers, I never would have had this problem. How dare they bring something in that I might abuse? Get in a car wreck, sue Ford. What in the world is going on? And it's always ridiculous. That's what I feel sorry for corporations in this country. If you have a corporation that actually manufactures a product, you always have to be one step ahead of our incompetence. That's the new rule now. If you make something and I can figure out a way to hurt myself with it, you gotta help me. Gotta save me from myself. I mean, and you always hear these people whine about something that went wrong, and you can tell it's ridiculous. You can tell it's just some kind of crazy thing they made up because they don't want to take any responsibility. Oh, I got in a wreck, and now I'm still in Ford. Yeah, but you're going like 90 around that curb. I know, but why didn't they invent pogo sticks that shoot out and knock you right back up on this thing? Yeah, why didn't we think of that? Everything that can go wrong, you got to figure out a way to keep me from hurting myself. And then they get some attorney, and he's always trying to wax eloquent about some kind of, way that this should have been done properly, and it's always so ridiculous and trivial. Yes, this is the United States of America, the most technologically advanced country in the history of civilization. We put men on the moon. Why can't we make the things we run into softer? We have the technology. Bumper cars. Get in a wreck, have fun. Use it as a tool to get cruddy people off the road. He's going 3 in the fast lane. Got him. Ha-ha! Other people are playing along. Hey, there he is. What the? Whoa! Ever try to steer a bumper car? No more traffic jams. Nobody can go the same way. See ya. Okay, what in the world? You going to work? I don't know. I haven't been home in 2 weeks, for crying out loud. Man, do I have to pee. This is bad.
So, as simple as that sounded, back in 2008, maybe? 10? I don't remember. Maybe less. As simple as it was, I was saying to America, don't do this anymore. Stand up for what is true. Speak what is right. Speak what you believe. Stand for it. Don't be a jerk about it. Don't hit people or spit on them or call them names. Just say, I'm not falling into your version of how I get to live and speak and think and behave. Not doing it. I'm not doing it. We're not talking about actual historically expected decorum. That's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about you nudge somebody and you don't say excuse me. We're not talking about saying please and thank you. These are inculcated into culture for years and years. All cultures have their means by which there's an expectation of politeness and decorum. What you will hear from the left is they will say, political correctness is just teaching people not to be jerks to those who never had a voice before. It's always a lie. Trust me. They'll always find this beautiful version of this cancer. That's what they're doing. They're wrapping a cancer tumor in a bow as though it's a beautiful gift. But I know it's there. You don't want me to speak. You want me to speak like you. You want me to think like you. Or shut up. And that's the most important thing. And it's why I've always told you guys, don't use liberal anymore. Liberals were fine. I didn't agree with them, but we got to speak. They got to speak. We got to try to persuade, and that's all America was. Leftism is Marxism. Marxism is the death knell of freedom in the West. It's killing us, and everybody will use it that can if it gives them power. This will always be about power. That's why with so much of what we saw in COVID, it was a wonderful way to expose to everybody what really was at stake. It was an amazing tour de force of revealing to the whole world that as powerful as the superpower United States is, we don't run our own country. As powerful as China is, they don't run their own country. There's this group of, I guess, super rich, specially connected people that none of us understand who really pull the strings. There really is a one world government. And what they're trying to finally do is reel it all in until they finally have a stranglehold and absolutely control the world. Because everybody wants to rule the world. So that's really how COVID exposed their tricks that used to have to be done subtly. Now they could just pull the trigger because everybody was falling for it. Put on your mask. Okay. Wear that. Okay. Give children this elixir, but we don't know if it's going to work. And you all did it. Keep them from school. Don't go to work. Shut down your business. We're going to give you free money. And everybody did instead of saying, wait. And because all the technocrats are in on it, because all the what used to be news is in on it, so they're going to deliver the propaganda. They're going to continue to facilitate it, so we can't even fight against it or rise up against us because they won't cover us. They won't show it. They won't say, this is what's going on. Here's what America is doing, is try to retrieve their freedom and go back to their constitutionality. They're not going to defend us. They're not going to give us a voice. They're going to stifle us. They're going to shut us off. They're going to take the President of the United States and throw him off. It's like they went and grabbed his cell phone and said, you don't get to use that anymore. The President. This is trying time. It is the single most fragile, dangerous time in my lifetime as an American, and maybe in America's history. Now that's a long, giant leap, right? Because the Revolutionary War was when we decided to break away from Britain, who owned us, owned the territory, right? And say we're going to be by ourselves and we're going to fight against the very country of origin. Civil War, we're not going to allow our country to split. And so we're going to fight each other and shoot each other and kill each other to remain a union. That's how important it was to us. World War I and II, we're not going to allow fascism or communism to rule. And of course, 9/11, we're not going to let Islamic terrorism to destroy people from within as well. So these are times that we rallied together because we believe that freedom and liberty was more important than even life, because we'd leave that to our kin afterwards. If we didn't get to live it, maybe we can leave it to somebody else who can. Because if we're still here and we're still talking and we're still free, somebody died for that. Somebody paid for that. And it might have been your parents, or it might have been your grandfather, or it might have been your son or daughter even today. So, free speech is crucial. Why? Because Jesus Christ said he was the Word, the actual logos, the actual information by which ideas and constructs come from the ethers that where God lives and actually created a three-dimensional universe. Everything is about the Word, the ideas, the mind, creating, and so words matter. And we have our own words to communicate and to say things. And what is the entire construct of political correctness? To control words, to redefine words, and to even make words incoherent. Boy means girl, girl means boy, white is up, black is green. This is it, and they're getting people to agree to it. That's why the personal pronouns is so crucial, to say, I cannot facilitate not even a delusion. Maybe these people really think this about themselves. I can't facilitate, and this is the single most crucial thing you have to understand. I won't facilitate a lie, because lie is the counterfeit of the truth. And guess who controls lies? Guess who the father of lies is? Guess who the disseminators of lies is? The Bible says it's Satan, the father of lies. I know you might be out there saying, I'm not even a Christian. Who cares? You better care, because everything you believe about justice and goodness and rightness and how we should treat each other is a Judeo-Christian construct. If you're in the West, you think like a Christian. I didn't say you were a Christian, and I don't even think it don't care if you believe you have anything to do with it. The way you think you're supposed to treat your fellow man without God is a Christian concept, whether you like it or not. That's the truth. That's history. If you really care about science, really care about truth, do some research. This is where we're at now today. So my comedy's design and my next album's design is about truth, is about exposing this COVID and what it meant, exposing the misuse and the abuse of words. It exposes lies. It's all funny, but hopefully it's also truthful. I'm also trying to build my ministry where I'm going to have what I want to think of as a theatrical way to describe and prove that God exists. Kind of an off-Broadway show. If you happen to see Derek Delgadio's show on Hulu called In and of Itself, kind of that kind of a vibe as to using magical ideas and concepts to be special effects to enhance a story about something I want to talk about. The story I want to talk about, God is real. This is part of what my ministry has become. If you believe in what I do and think it's something that you want to be part of, you can give. I am a 501c3. It is a ministry, so yes, it's tax deductible. And all you have to do is say, hey, show me where to link it, and you can donate, and it's going to help me build this show, my live events, as well as the shows I'm about to do on tour in Texas in April with Rick Green, the show I'm about to do coming up at the end of this month in Phoenix with Kevin Jackson and Tim Wilkins, called the Unapologetically American Tour with two other comics. I've got a whole lot of things with Jonathan Chiliafaro, my friend, where we're doing the Spirit of America Tour. I'm telling you guys, God has decided, for whatever reason, as long as I can still breathe and my heart doesn't give out yet, that I have some work to do in America to stand for freedom, liberty, and I will fight this fight. I told you I would. I told my family I'm ready to die for this thing. I'm ready to hang my flag on this idea. This is what I'm going to stand for. And as long as I can still have a platform, I'll be on doing this podcast. We'll be talking about these ideas, and I'll show you why and how I integrate my comedy with reality, truth, and the virtues that are the First Amendment, Second Amendment, and God's Word. That's what I am. This is a place where comedy and Christianity and conservatism collide in a cacophony of clarity. This has been Brad Stine Has Issues. I'll be next week right over there where Wyatt is right now, and I'll bet you you're going to hear me a lot better. I'm not going to sound so crazy. Listen, I hope to have interview as soon as possible. I was going to have Rick Green today, but we couldn't figure out how to get past that glitch. So, soon and very soon. Larry Gilbert's going to come down here. He's going to help me set this thing up so it will finally, once and for all, be as good as it can be. And then we'll just keep growing this podcast, and we will do some damage for the kingdom while the getting's good. God bless you. Thank you for coming here, guys. Let me know if you want a link to how to give, and I will